Alright guys, it is the morning right now, the morning of going to Las Vegas, so we're about to drive away. The suitcases are packed. It's around 6:30 a.m. I've got my meal right here, some oatmeal. The only carb meal I will have today, the rest is all zero carbs. Most likely, well, no added carbs, just the carbs from the vegetables, and some fish and fats, and that's what we're going to take in the plane. And you can see that in a previous video, the 7 days out before the Olympia that I put on, but I took on the plane. But anyway, let's get to Schiphol. Alright, so before actually going to the airport, we have to park our car. And we always park it at like a spot close to the airport. Then we're gonna be shuttled with a shuttle bus to the airport, and then the rest will be at the airport, of course. But yeah, we're parking right here. As you can see, all kinds of cars. And we just get a liberal key. They will park the car, and then we will be picked up by a shuttle bus, and then the rest will be very easy. From now, only checking in the suitcases, and that's it. So hopefully everything will go all right. And then we arrived at the airport. As you can see, the line to United Airlines is pretty long, and we had to wait quite a while, but everything went all right in the end. And of course, we are all rocking our vintage genetics clothing, hoodies, t-shirts, etc. And then we got off the plane and actually arrived in Houston, Texas, because that was the stop in between the Netherlands and Las Vegas. And that airport was so big that you actually had to get like a train on rails to get to your terminal, which was pretty awesome to experience. And then upon arriving on Sunday, we actually went straight to the Walmart there and did our groceries to make sure that we got everything we needed to prepare all the meals for the Olympia. But of course, once I saw this, I just had to get some footage of it, because at that time, I was really craving something like this. Alright guys, we just arrived yesterday in Las Vegas. This is our apartment. Pretty nice. We specifically chose not to go for a hotel, because now we don't only have a microwave, but also a stovetop with everything. And that's what you need when you prepare for the Olympia. You need to be able to prepare the foods to the T, to the gram. So let me show you what I'm making right now. I already had my breakfast, some beautiful cream of wheat. Of course, I had to try it out. It's almost the same as oatmeal, except it's more, thinner, more mixed up. And just added some almonds, some whey, etc. But that's my usual breakfast. So let me show you the meals that I'm prepping right now for today. So right here we've got butternut squash, about 400 grams. It's going to be for 2 meals. Here we've got 200 grams of vegetables. You can smell that it's starting to burn, so we've got to slow it down. This is the rice, and then we've got some codfish, 2 fillets each meal with this. Can put it in the pan right here, and I'm going to show you the final results of what it will be all about. And this is the first gym we were going to train at, the City Athletic Club in Las Vegas. And of course, before every training I take some BCAAs from Nutritech, available on Vintage Genetics, of course, to really make sure that with the lower amount of protein, I still am going to keep all the muscle mass while training, because this was a very intense training, one of the few intense trainings that I did. Afterwards it was more like pump training, but this was getting pretty heavy, especially on this chest press, which to my amazement actually went up to like 150 kilograms, which is, almost 50, well, there's literally 50% more than what I'm usually used to, which goes to 100 kilograms, which is pretty easy. But as you can see, the stack is pretty filled and it was getting pretty heavy, and I like that a lot because I can bench press quite a lot, and usually the machines are way too light and you don't want to risk too much when you're in prep like this, so you don't do too many free weights, but you stick mostly to machines like this, get a good pump, get the blood flowing, get a good workout in, and just to see what your shape is like. So no need to risk anything, but just get the blood flowing into the muscles that you want. So today we did some chest and triceps, because usually when I train chest, that's when the entire upper body gets pumped up anyway, but I still went to pretty much the max, as you can see, because that's simply what I do when I train. And as you can see, this gym was pretty amazing, pretty big, a lot of machines, a nice environment, and the next exercise is actually going to be an incline press. So basically, even though this is a contest prep workout, you guys can still use it as an actual chest training to follow. So first the regular chest press and then the incline chest press, and of course you can either substitute it with a dumbbell press or a bench press, but I really like to sometimes stick to only machines, really focus on that mind-muscle connection, as some people have trouble finding it, and using machines simply works really well to maintain and to actually get that mind-muscle connection a lot more. And here you can see that I'm getting leaner and leaner. There's still a little bit of fluid over my, under my skin, over the muscles from the flight, because the flight was like 16 hours travel time, which is pretty long. I didn't have any carbs in the plane, as I mentioned before, to prevent any fluids from building up, to prevent the water retention, but you always still get some, because there's a jet lag, you don't sleep as well. But I still looked pretty good despite the flight, and I was quite happy with once I achieved the pump and you get it at some good lighting, you can actually see the actual shape that you're in. So I'm very glad that there wasn't too much damage from the flight at all, and I was very glad at this moment that we arrived quite early in Las Vegas so we could make all the necessary adjustments that we need to make. So as you can see here, the leanness is showing in the delts, and that's always what I know. If you can see every single striation in those delts, and I know that I'm on a good path, at least in terms of the fat mass, because that is pretty much gone. It now really is mostly about controlling the water underneath the skin and getting that water inside the muscle, which is always the biggest challenge, at least it has been for me during all of my preps. My body really shows itself the very best when it's pumped up, when all the fluids go inside the muscle, and of course at the same time you have to get those fluids from beneath the skin and drive that either outside of the body or inside the muscle to create a perfect scenario. And we actually did achieve that, as you will see that in this video when I start posing and do some checkups later on. You can see that we achieved quite a nice shape that I never achieved before. A lot of fullness, a lot of crispness. That was the first time that I experienced that. But this was an amazing training. There's some chest and triceps.
Still too easy.
What?
It's still too easy.
Why?
Because it's too light.
Guys, it's Wednesday now, and tomorrow will actually be the weigh-ins, registration, and Friday will be the contest. So right now I've been only having high days to be sure that I come in, first of all, peeled, because no fat is left and the water weight is not a problem, but we need to get the carbs inside the muscle right there, inside, and not outside, under the skin. So what I'm doing is I'm not having any salt, I'm upping the potassium, I'm doing high carb meals, and I'm going to show you what I'm making myself right now. Over here we have a nice amount of vegetables, which I'm going to lower tomorrow. We have some rice cooking away, 240 grams of basmati rice, so 120 grams of basmati rice each meal, around 200 grams of vegetables each meal. I've got 2 tilapias, we've got 2 more here, so which I'm going to make for each meal, and I put around 15 grams of coconut oil in here for the healthy fats. So all I'm adding is some black pepper and some garlic powder. That's all. And also, of course, the turmeric. Can't forget about the turmeric to make that rice look and taste delicious. It's a good anti-inflammatory as well, actually reducing the water beneath the skin as well, just a little bit. But anyway, let me show you what it looks like after this is done. Look at this, you guys. Just 2 simple meals of 120 grams of rice each, around 100 grams of carrots, 100 grams of butternut squash, which I love in America, by the way. And on the bottom, we actually have the fish. You can't really see it, but I put it at the bottom because it was easier to put it in. And about 5 grams of coconut oil each. So yeah, that's going to be a nice loading meal phase for a Wednesday for the Friday show. And of course, guys, I cannot begin to explain how amazing Las Vegas was to visit the Strip, to visit all those amazing casinos, the environments, the architecture is just astonishing. You really, even if you look at pictures and this footage right here, you cannot really know what it's like unless you've been there. And now I know what all those people meant when we know some people who actually went to Las Vegas before. They try to explain it, but once you're there, you simply experience it in such a different way. Because look at this. This is an entire town remodeled inside a casino. So everything you're seeing right now is inside a building, inside a single casino, because that's really what the entire Strip is run on. The hotels are actually pretty cheap. The food at the buffets, at least, is pretty cheap. Only to keep the people inside so they can gamble their money away at the casino slots. So everything is cheap except for, of course, losing the money. And we met some people there, which is pretty awesome to even see some people recognize me in Las Vegas, out of all places. So that's just been an amazing, humbling experience as well. And we just visited a lot of casinos, just checked out the Strip quite a bit, and we really enjoyed ourselves.
Say what?
The Sword and the Stone Bar.
High carb day.
Pretty much every day since I landed was a high carb day to make sure that I get properly, refueled, fueled up, get the carbs inside my muscles, because honestly it was never going to be a problem to get to the weigh-ins, because I know I still wouldn't make weight in terms of getting over it. I was still under it quite a bit, so we were very safe in terms of the carbs. And then, of course, this visit on the Strip was a day later, and then we did another workout at another gym. This gym is actually called Phase 1 Sports, and it was available for the Olympia contenders to work out for free. So that was amazing. So you actually get an email before you arrive in Las Vegas. You get like a few weeks before, you get an email from the organizer, and they tell you exactly what you can do, what you can find in Las Vegas, different avenues, different addresses. And there was also a note in there about the gyms, and that this gym actually made itself available to all the Olympia athletes for free. So all we have to do is drive there, say my name, they checked it, and yes, I was in. It was a free workout, which is very amazing in Las Vegas, because most actually ask for $30 or $40 for one workout, and that's what we not gonna do. So we were training here, pretty nice gym. They had all the equipment that I needed to get a nice pump, because this workout, as you can see, is a full upper body workout. I mentioned before in different videos that I don't train legs for 2 weeks in a row before the contest, and you can see that the shape is getting better and better. We were actually peaking quite early. This is still a couple of days before Friday, which is the show day of the contest, and we're already in quite good shape. And I didn't take any salt. The carbs are pretty much loaded. The water is really getting gone. It's getting evaporated from beneath the skin, getting inside the muscle. So the fullness is starting to appear. The crispness is starting to appear. And we basically almost feel ready to step on stage, but there was still a couple more days left. But that's the thing. We have never really done a contest at a high level like this, so we didn't know my body that well. We didn't know what look could be achieved before we actually peak, and we didn't know what I would look like when I actually peak completely. And when we would overspill, because you can see here the striations are showing in the triceps. I mean, the fullness is there, the veins are there. We were pretty much ready on this day, just maybe a little bit of water cutting by not drinking water for a couple of hours, and not eating the protein, not getting in the fibers, really getting rid of some extra water and purely pumping in those carbs in the muscles, just warm up a little bit backstage, and we would be ready. But it was still a couple more days left, which was very difficult to then keep this very same shape intact. At least that's what I experienced. And basically this full body workout, I start out with some back exercises, then some chest exercises, some rear delt exercises, then some arm exercises, some delt, normal delt exercises, to really get a nice full body pump and get everything flowing, because I'm getting a pump quite easily now because the carbs are simply in the system. And this workout is, every time my coach is looking to see how well my body is responding to the carbs and to the protocol, and as you can see, it is really responding very well, because all that I should need to do backstage is do a couple of normal push-ups, of course with my vest on, keep it nice and warm, and you can already feel the muscles pumping up, because you got to imagine the entire diet was pretty much low carb in general, really in a carbohydrate deficit, a caloric deficit, and that means you're constantly burning off the energy by simply by being alive, by using your body. But once you start carbing up, once you start upping the carbohydrates, upping the calories, then you actually get some energy left, which can be stored as glycogen in the muscles, making them appear fuller and drier, because they actually push against the skin. And again, areas on the body where you can really see how lean you are is the shoulders right here. And I really did have the feeling that this was my best shape ever, and we were going to get in an amazing shape on the Olympia stage, especially for classic physique, because at this time, honestly, no one was really entirely sure whether the judges would want only super shredded guys, or if they would also allow someone who is less shredded but has a very classic shape. So right here we are doing the checkup right after this exercise to see how well I responded to the workout, how well I respond to the carbs, because you can actually really only look at your physique after being pumped up a little bit, getting the blood into the muscles where the blood belongs. And I have to say I was quite happy with the results, because right now I look full, I felt good, I felt energized, and the striations were showing where they needed to show. I felt like I was in proportion with the upper body and the lower body, especially from the front and the side. Of course, the hamstrings from the back is my biggest weak point, which I still need to work on, getting the depth, getting the detail there. But as you can see, I mean, the legs might be smaller than some of the guys, maybe most of the guys in the class, but still I don't feel like they are completely out of proportion. And that's partly because I simply love the 70s bodybuilding. That really is my passion, the golden era. That's what I stand for. That's true classic bodybuilding. And at the same time, I think if I grow my legs way too much, because imagine a lot more mass on my legs right there, I think it would ruin the flow in my physique a little bit. Of course, I can add some more hamstrings, maybe a little more quad sweep, but certainly not a whole lot of pounds of mass on those legs, because I don't personally think that will look really good. Because here the upper body is pumped up to the max, I did nothing with the legs, and it still looks, objectively, if I look at myself right here, of course it's impossible to be objective when you're looking at yourself, but still I do think the proportions aren't horrible. Let's just put it like that. A lot of people are a fan of bigger legs, but then I would wonder what is truly the difference between classic physique and regular bodybuilding, if not only for the weight limit, because I thought it's called classic physique, so there must be a change in how the physiques are shown in terms of structure, in terms of proportions. But this year I discovered that they simply do want a lot more shredded guys. They simply vote the shredded guys as number one, and on average they have bigger legs as well, so I simply am forced to work on it. And I'm sure I will keep the shape intact, keep the proportion intact, just add a little more leg mass where it needs to go, only on the quad sweep and the hamstrings, and make the upper body grow even more, because honestly I still have a couple of pounds of muscle left. But as you can see here, the leanness that I achieved, and you can see it from the back especially, I was very happy with at this moment. And we still, you know, after this day, I looked a little bit better even, a little bit more crisp. And, you know, the lighting here wasn't perfect, because you can see that the shadow is actually cast over the most important part of a back shot, which is the back thickness and the Christmas tree, which actually shows how striated you are, how dry you are, how shredded you are. But I'm showing it here by its own, and there you can see that the Christmas tree is showing, and it's showing a lot better than it did on stage itself, which is of course a shame. But as I mentioned in the video that I uploaded before this one, we learned a whole lot about my body, about my physique, about the protocol we need to do, about the salt, about the water, etc. We learned a whole lot, and I can't wait to improve upon this shape by a whole lot. And then, like 2 days later, the Olympia weekend check-in was there. Either the 1 day or 2 days later, there was a check-in. It was on a Thursday morning. Here are the athletes are. That's Danny Hasser, by the way, walking towards that door where I will be sitting right there with all the other classic physique athletes and some 212 athletes, because the first athletes that actually gets registered and checked in are the ones who need to weigh themselves. And of course the 212s need to weigh themselves, and also classic physique according to their height. So everybody is walking past these black tables. You start at the very right, you get measured, your height gets measured, and your weight gets measured. And then you basically walk through these tables, past them, get deliver your music, deliver actually some form you have to fill in about the music, and about if you get a paycheck, you have to fill in like a special form so that I can make over the money right away. There's no hassle, no difficulty. And then you actually also got a Pro Tent package. You get your badge number, you get an Olympia tracksuit, basically a hoodie, and you sign some posters. And I actually weighed in at 245 pounds, wearing that t-shirt right there and the vest that I was wearing, the Team Vintage Genetics vest, the hoodie. So I'm actually pretty close to 241 pounds, I believe, because I also ate breakfast that morning and I drank a lot of water as well. So I am still quite a few pounds away from the allowed weight, which is 247 pounds, which makes me a very happy man indeed. And this is my coach, by the way, actually wearing his own brand Nutritech, which I am collaborating with. I have my own supplements with him, and the Vintage Genetics brand, because he is a very supportive coach, the most amazing coach I've ever known, I've ever had. Very kind man. He helped me a lot. He's very smart, actually has helped many Olympia athletes before, but he is kind of behind the scenes, but he could be very popular if he wanted to, but he really does it out of passion and not for money, not for anything else. Next time on Vintage Genetics, you will see another of my workouts and
from the Netherlands, Wesley Vissers.
the pre-judging, my posing minute, the pre-judging comparisons, and a lot more, the finals, my experiences, and the conclusion. So, if you enjoyed this part, then make sure to watch for part number 2.